Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to teach you how to make these super cute apples with juicy little booties. These are really easy to make. It's basically a ball with arms and legs and leaves attached. I will walk you through how to make the entire apple, embroider the face, where to put safety eyes if you'd prefer that, and how to make this glorious booty. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you never miss a crochet tutorial. You can also check out my website tinycurl.co for a ton of other free crochet patterns and amigurumi tutorials. So without further ado, let's get started. To make the apple, you'll need 2 colors of worsted weight yarn. You could also use lightweight or DK weight yarn and a smaller hook, or chunkier yarn with a bigger hook to vary the size of your apple. I'm using a size C or 2.75 millimeter hook. You will also need some embroidery floss. They come in skeins like this. You could also use lightweight DK weight black yarn to embroider the face. And if you don't want to embroider the eyes, you can use 9mm safety eyes. So I used safety eyes for this little yellow apple. You will also need a stitch marker, a pair of scissors, and a tapestry needle and an embroidery needle. The tapestry needle has a dull tip, and this is for weaving at ends and attaching pieces, and the embroidery needle has a sharp tip, and this is for embroidering the face. You're also going to need toy stuffing. My favorite is the Fairfield Polyfill, and I have links for that down below. It is awesome. You're going to need a lot more than this though, because it compacts. So now that we have all of our materials ready, let's get started on crocheting our apple. To get started, I'm going to make a magic ring. I have my apple color, color A, and I'm going to start by draping the tail over my fingers, wrapping it around, and making an X, then inserting my hook under the first strand and over the second strand, and scooping up a loop like that. I'm going to reposition the circle to face me, and pinching where I just made that loop, I'm going to grab the tail and in my yarn holding hand, hold the yarn. So I like to hold my yarn between my pinky and then over my index finger, and I loop it once, and this gives me a lot of tension when I'm working. So I just tighten the loop on my hook, yarn over, and pull through the loop, making a chain. And the chain doesn't count towards our stitch count at the end. It's just how we start our magic ring. So I'm going to just tighten the loop a little bit by pulling the tail. And now I'm going to make the first round of stitches, which is 6 single crochets into our magic ring. So I insert my hook into the center of the ring, yarn over, and I go from back to front or from right to left of the hook when I yarn over. And then I pull up that loop through the center, yarn over again from back to front, and pull through both loops on the hook. And that's 1 single crochet made. Now I'm going to make 5 more single crochets into the center. Insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you can count the stitches at the end of your round by counting the V's on top. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I'm going to tighten my loop, but not all the way. And I'm going to go ahead and make the first stitch of my second round. So round 2 is 6 increases. So an increase is 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So I'm just going to insert my hook into my first stitch, yarn over. Oh, actually, this is important. You want to make sure that you're crocheting with the yarn tail like next to your stitch so that you can weave it in as you go and tighten the loop. So I yarn over, bring through my first stitch, yarn over. So now I've made my first single crochet of round 2. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten my magic ring fully now. So I pull really tight so that that center hole disappears. Now I'm gonna go ahead and place my stitch marker. Actually, I'm gonna get a different color because I just noticed this is red. Okay, I'm back. I got a green stitch marker so that you can see it better. So I'm gonna insert my stitch marker into that first stitch, like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and make another single crochet into the same stitch. I'm gonna insert the hook into the first stitch again, yarn over, bring through, yarn over. So now I've made 2 single crochets into 1 stitch, and that's my increase. So I'm gonna increase 5 more times around, so 2 single crochets in each stitch around until I get back to my stitch marker. So I finished round 2, I have 12 stitches, and now I'm ready to start round 3. I'm gonna make 1 single crochet and 1 increase, and then repeat that set 6 times total until I get to the end. So I'm gonna remove my stitch marker, and I'm gonna do 1 single crochet into my first stitch, replace my stitch marker. Then I'm gonna make an increase into the next stitch. So I'm gonna do 2 single crochets into that next stitch. And then I'm gonna repeat that 5 times more until I get to the end. I just finished round 3 and I should have 18 stitches. I'm gonna start round 4, which is 1 single crochet, 1 increase, 1 single crochet, and then you do that 6 times around. So I'm gonna do 1 single crochet, replace my stitch marker, and then I'm gonna increase. And then I'm gonna do 1 single crochet. And now I'm gonna do that 5 more times, starting with 1 single crochet, increase, 1 single crochet. And the reason that I stagger my increases is so that I have a more perfect circle instead of a hexagon shape, and that really helps to fix that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that set 5 more times and meet you back here. I've reached the end of round 4, and now I'm ready to start round 5, which is 3 single crochets and 1 increase. So I'm gonna remove my stitch marker, make my first single crochet, insert my hook or my stitch marker, make 2 more single crochets, and I'm going to increase 2 single crochets into the next stitch. Then I'm going to repeat that set 5 more times. I've reached the end of round 5. I should have 30 stitches from the last round. So now I'm ready to start round 6, which is 2 single crochets, 1 increase, 2 single crochets, and then doing that 6 times around. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker, do 1 single crochet, replace my stitch marker, two single crochets, increase in the next stitch, which is 2 single crochets in the next stitch, oops, this yarn is kind of splitty, and then 2 more single crochets, goodness me. Now I'm gonna do that set 5 more times around. I'm done with round 6. I should have 36 stitches in that last round. Now I'm going to do round 7, which is single crochet 5, increase 1, and do that 6 times around. So I'm going to single crochet 5, there's 1, 2, 3, oops, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to increase 2 single crochets into the next stitch. I'm going to do that set 5 more times around. This is the end of round 7. You should have 42 stitches. And for the next 11 rounds, rounds 8 through 18, I'm going to just single crochet all the way around. So this is when we're just working down. So you just single crochet and then just keep going. I just finished round 18, so I have 11 rounds of just single crocheting around, and I like to count my rows just one more time to double check, and I just go down like this until the next increase row, which is here. So I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, just to make sure I have the right amount of rounds. So now at this point, it's time to embroider our apple's face. So grab your embroidery thread and your safety eyes if you're using them, and your embroidery needle, and we're going to start embroidering the face. So these two, besides having one safety eye and one embroidered eye, as another really small difference, the nose and mouth, well, the entire face actually, is 1 round above this one. So you can see kind of the different looks that it gives. This one has more of their face on the bottom, and this one's more centered. So for this one, the nose is on round 12 and the mouth is on round 13. And for this one, the nose is on round 13 and the mouth is on round 14. So it's a really, really tiny difference, but it really makes a difference in how your apple turns out. So I think I'm gonna do the lower face for my apple now, and I'll go ahead and show you that. Okay, so whether or not you're using safety eyes, you're still gonna wanna embroider the nose and mouth. And so depending on whether you're doing the eyes as well, I've cut about a piece of, let's say 30-inch embroidery floss, and I'm using all 6 strands. So I'm gonna just go ahead and double knot the end first. And then I'm going to start with the nose and then the mouth and then do the eyes. So I go to the side opposite of the stitch marker, and then I take my embroidery needle, and the main note for embroidering on crochet is that you're going to want to insert your needle into a stitch, through the stitch, like that, and not between stitches. So I'll show you what between looks like. So in this one, I've gone between 2 stitches and like it's very wobbly. So you want to go through a stitch so that it's more secure. So I'm going to insert my needle into round 13. And so we know this is round 18. So I'm going to count 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. So this is the round that I'm going to do my nose on. So I'm just going to remember that little stitch, and I'm going to come from the back to the front like that. And because we're not finished with our piece, you want to make sure that you're not embroidering your yarn tail with it at the back. It kind of helps that. Also, you can cut this this inside tail as short as you want, because we crocheted over it in round 2, so it's already weaved in. So I'm going to make a French knot for the nose. To make a French knot, you take your needle and your yarn or your embroidery floss, and I have my needle really tight to my piece and the yarn draped over it. And then I'm going to wrap the embroidery floss 3 times around my needle while keeping the needle very close to my piece. So 1, 2, 3. And then your needle's going to want to spin, so you have to keep really good control over it with your right hand or it'll spin around. And then while keeping the loops on the needle, I'm going to insert the tip of the needle very close to the original hole. So this part takes a little bit of practice because I don't want my loops to unravel. So I just very, very carefully, so the loops don't come off my needle, get as close as I can to my initial hole, and then insert my needle back into my piece. And then I bring my needle out. Sometimes it takes a little bit of pulling. There we go. So then I pull the thread all the way through. And if you've gone through a stitch and not between stitches, you should end up with this little bump, this little French knot for the nose. Like that. Okay, now I have my cute little nose, so I'm gonna make the mouth on the round below. So the center of the next round down. So come out here. And then bring it across and insert it in about the 3rd stitch away. Oops. And this is what my smile is going to look like right after, but I just pull it to kind of give it a little bit of slack so that it turns into a smile. Like that. So now if you want to use safety eyes, then you're going to want to get your safety eye. And I counted 8 stitches between eyes, and I placed them on the round above the nose. So I would count 4 this way. Let me get my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I would place it here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and place it here. So then you would just put your eyes in and use the backers, and then you're done with the face at that point. But I'm gonna embroider my eyes, so I'm gonna show you how I do that. The first point of my eye falls about 2 stitches away from the nose. So I count, this is the nose, and then I count 1, 2. I'm gonna put the eye starting here. Right there. Like so. And then what I like to do is drape the eye along where I want it to go. So the bottom's gonna come down to round 14 where the mouth is. So I just kind of guide it like so. So then I just, along that line, I work down by inserting my needle into the next stitch below, pulling it out. So that's my first stitch made. And then I'm going to go to the round below a little bit away, like that. And then connect the stitch up towards the eye again. So insert the needle back into this hole here, like so. And then I'm going to continue the line this way, and I'm going to have about 4 stitches between points. So then I just keep going until I get to the length or the size of the eye that I want. So just bringing it out. And back stitching. You might notice that it looks a little bit wobbly. So what I do is I just kind of move it with my needle. And because I'm giving it lashes, the line will definitely straighten out more. But it's not going to be as perfect as if you're embroidering on fabric because there's lumps and bumps and it's not even. So instead of going sideways, I'm just going to go up now. Like that. Just connecting. Trying not to stab myself, which I always do. And then I'm going to make my final stitch into round 12. Like so. And connect it down. And then there you have it. So this is kind of pointy here, so I'm just going to try to round it out a little bit. Like so. There we go. And now I'm going to add the lashes. I just go around and bring my needle out and insert it back into the holes between the stitches. So the points where the stitches meet is where I place the eyelashes. So I start at the end, come out near the eye line, and insert it into the stitch hole, like so. And there we go. So then I'm just going to massage a couple of these and see if I can make it perfect. But if not, then I'm happy where I am. Okay, here is my finished eye. And my mouth kind of straightened out again because I was embroidering with the same thread. So I just take the base of my needle and give it a little tug. And the smile comes back. You're going to have to do that again after you stuff as well. And then I repeat the process for the other eye. And then I just start, so because we came back with the eyelashes with the embroidery thread, when I start here, it's not going to be that far of a leap inside my work. So I just start here. It's the same round as the top of this eye. And then I'll just show you where we're going. You don't want to pull too tight in your work or else it'll pucker. But then I just do the same thing. Kind of guide it like this. Oops. Where I want it to go. And then I embroider it the same way, except I'm going this way. So I make the stitches this way and then I come back with the eyelashes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that eye and then show you how to fasten inside your work. Okay, I just finished embroidering the left eye, and so now I'm just going to show you how I fasten off inside of my piece. So I just flip it inside and I insert my embroidery needle under a thread and double knot it by inserting my needle into the loop twice from the same direction and then pulling tight. And I do that one more time. And now I'll cut my embroidery thread close. And now we're ready to continue on with the body. Now I'm ready to start round 19, and we're gonna do decreases in this round, invisible decreases. So I'll show you how to do that slowly. But we're gonna do 5 single crochets and then 1 invisible decrease. So I've taken my stitch marker out and I'm gonna do 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now I'm going to do an invisible decrease. So if you look at your stitch from the top, you're going to see the V. For an invisible decrease, I insert my hook into the first loop, which is the one closest to me, of the next 2 stitches. So I'll show you how to do that. So I just insert my hook into the stitch from below, picking up just the front loop, and then I do that for the second loop, or the second stitch. So now I have my original loop and then the 2 front loops of the next 2 stitches on my hook. And then I make a single crochet as normal. So I would yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the second 2 loops. And there's my invisible decrease. So I'll show you how to do that one more time. So I'll single crochet 5. And now I'm going to do an invisible decrease. So I insert my hook, picking up the front loops of the next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through both loops, yarn over, pull through last 2 loops. And this decreases, it's the opposite of an increase. So it decreases the round by however many decreases you do. So this round has 6 decreases. It reduces the amount of stitches by 6. So I'm going to just do that set 4 more times around and I'll meet you back here. Okay, I just finished round 19. Now I'm ready for round 20. It's single crochet 4, invisible decrease 1. And do that 6 times around. I don't stagger my decreases because I like them to be all in the same place. I just think it looks better. So I'm going to single crochet 4. And now I'm going to do my invisible decrease. And I'm going to repeat that 5 more times. Okay, now I'm ready for round 21, which is 3 single crochets, 1 invisible decrease. Remember to count your stitches if you need to at the end of your rounds and make sure that they're matching up with the amount that you need after each round. So that was 1, 2, 3, and then 1 invisible decrease. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to do that set 5 more times around. I just finished round 21 and now it's time for me to stuff my apple and start making the butt. So I have my stuffing and I just add a little bit at a time. So I have maybe a handful here and then I just stuff it in like so. I fill my dolls quite a bit. I fill it until it's very difficult to get any more in. I find that it makes my piece retain its shape way better than if I didn't fill it enough. And because I crochet tight and I use a small hook, if I didn't fill it all the way, it would kind of just be lumpy and square and not cute. So let me get my more filling, woo! And then I just keep going. I kind of rotate my piece and fill in different areas that seem empty or not as full. And then I will kind of massage my piece as I go to make sure that it's getting the shape that I want, which is round. So I'm getting a little bit more resistance, but there's still room to put more. Now that my apple is almost fully stuffed, I'm going to take 2 little pieces of stuffing, about, say, this much, and I'm gonna roll it into a ball. I'm creating a little ball to put, I'm doing 2 little balls for both of her butt cheeks. And this gives it a rounder look. So if you look at the apple that I already made, she's got a little tush, and these are where I put the balls of stuffing. So I take my ball and I want to find the center of the back of the apple. So I'll go this way. I just make a vertical line and it's right here. So right to the side of my stitch marker. So then what I do is I stick my finger in, making sure I know where the center is, and I kind of push out and stretch those stitches like that. And then I take the ball and insert it into the apple. Making sure that it's where I made the indentation. And there we go. So you can kind of see that there's a bump there. So I'm going to repeat that for the other butt cheek. You can kind of see it feels a lot harder, but it'll be more accentuated once we make the butt crack at the end. So now we're ready to move on to round 22. For round 22, I'm going to single crochet 2 and invisible decrease 1. I just removed my stitch marker, so I'm going to make 2 single crochets, replace my stitch marker, one more single crochet, and now I'm going to do an invisible decrease, 1, 2, and I'm going to repeat that set 5 more times. Just kind of push the stuffing down with my yarn holding hand so that I don't pick it up while I'm crocheting. All right, we're ready for round 23. We're gonna single crochet 1 and invisible decrease 1 6 times around. Here we go, single crochet 1. Invisible decrease. And do that 5 more times around. Okay, I'm at the last round of the apple's body and I'm just gonna invisible decrease 6 times around. I've taken my stitch marker off. It's kind of hard to keep your stitch marker there when you're doing this last round. So I just keep track of how many I've done while I'm going. And then this is also the time if you want to stuff your piece anymore. Pretty happy with mine, but do any last stuffing that you need. Actually, I think I could fit a little bit in. Okay, I'm gonna call that good. So now I'm just gonna go around and single crochet or invisible decrease 6 times. Now I'm gonna slip stitch 1 in my first invisible decrease that I made, and then I'm gonna yarn over, bring the loop through, or bring the yarn through the loop that's on my hook. And now I'm gonna pull about a 20 to 24 inch tail, because we're gonna use this tail to make the butt crack and also make the dimples at the top of our apple to make it an apple shape. So I'm just gonna pull, let's say 20 to 24 inches. I just eyeball it and then cut the top of that thread and then pull the working yarn out, the yarn that's attached to your yarn ball, and then just tighten that knot. We're finished with the apple's body, and now I'm going to show you how to close your piece and make the butt crack and the apple's dimples. So I have my tapestry needle. I'm gonna thread the tail with on my tapestry needle. I'm gonna take the needle and go through the front loops of the last round of stitches. So this last 6 stitches, I'm gonna go from inside to outside and pick up only the front loop, the loop that's closest to me. So I'm just gonna go into the top of the stitch, pick up that front loop, weave it through. Just insert it through the center of the stitch from inside to outside and go all the way around. So that was 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm going to pull this hole really tight to close it, just pinching the center as I go, like this. And now you're going to insert your needle into the center of the hole and then find the back of your apple where your butt cheeks were. We're going to take our needle through the center of the hole and come up just over round 15. So between rounds 15 and 14, like that. And then I'm going to bring the tail out and pull tight so that the bottom kind of retracts into it. And then you're going to count 8 rounds down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and insert in a straight line from the from this strand down. And then I'm going to bring my needle through to the top of my apple. Get it as close to the top and then just weave it up as much as you can to get to the top. This is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take my strand, massage a little bit, and I'm going to pull it pretty tightly. And as you see, this is how the butt cheek forms. So I just press. So I just want to define those 2 balls that we put in earlier during the stuffing. And I really want to define the crack. This is a very weird topic, but you know what? You're gonna love your little juicy apple bottom. So you want to pull tight enough that the butt crack is very defined and those cheeks are popping, but not so much that you're gonna tear your yarn or warp it extremely. So this is our booty. And now we're going to make the dimple on top of the apple. So as you can see, it has a little dimple on top like apples do. So get your yarn as close to the top outside of the round 1 as you can. And then I'm just gonna go from this round and then into the center. And then kind of pull it a little further away. So I'm gonna go out somewhere else on the body like that. And my butt crack kind of has slipped, so I'm gonna pull it and it's gonna redefine it. So while also getting this top portion a little bit of a dimple. And I'm gonna go back and go from the other side and then into the center again. You wanna make sure that you're not catching any stitches. You're just bringing it through the stuffing on the inside. So now I'm gonna weave in this tail because we're done shaping the apple. And I will show you how to do that now. I'm gonna take, I came out the top, but I'm gonna go a little bit towards the back so that I can hide a little bit of my weaving. So the way that I weave in my yarn, I'm just gonna go through a few stitches this way. Like that. And then I go up to a different round and I go through this little piece. There's a little piece of the stitch right here. That's the perfect little tunnel for me to go up to the next round. And then I go the other way through like 3 stitches. Like that. And then I just bring the yarn tail through my piece again, anywhere. Pull it, but not too tight because it will pull where you just weaved that tail in. And then I'm gonna cut close to the body, like that, and the yarn retracts back in. So there's our finished apple. There's her little booty. I've already made 1 leaf. So we're gonna make the second leaf together. Okay, sorry if the lighting is different. I am filming this later on my iPhone because the first video I made a mistake. So now I'm gonna show you how to crochet the leaf. So I have my green yarn and I'm going to first do chain 7. So to make a chain, you start with the slip knot, and the slip knot starts exactly the same way as the magic ring, except you don't make a loop out of it. So I just drape the yarn over my hand, make an X, then I take my hook and go under and over and pull up a loop. And then I just drop the loop and take both yarn tails and pull it tight. And then I take the working yarn and just pull that tight so that the loop is tight on my hook. And then what I do is I take the working yarn and I hold the knot in my hand here and yarn over and pull through the loop on the hook. And you want to do this pretty loose so that the leaf doesn't curl. And so I'm going to do that 6 more times for a total of 7 chains. So yarn over, pull through the loop, yarn over, pull through. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 chains. And now I'm going to work into the chain. So I'm going to crochet around the chain, and I start on this side and then I turn and come back this way. So I'm going to start working in the second chain for my hook. So the first chain is here. This is the second. So I insert my hook into the center of the second chain like that. And I'm going to make 1 slip stitch into this chain. So I yarn over, pull through, and then just pull through the loop on my hook. There we go. Now I'm going to make a single crochet in the second chain. So I insert into the second chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through both loops on my hook. So now in the next chain, I'm gonna make a half double crochet. So you start that with a loop already on your hook. So I yarn over from back to front, insert into the chain, yarn over, pull through. So now I have 3 loops on my hook, and now I yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops on my hook. And then in the next one, I'm going to make a double crochet. So I yarn over, insert it into the second, into that chain, yarn over, pull through. So now I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull only through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the second 2 loops. So that's a double crochet. Then I'm going to make another double crochet, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through last 2. That's another double crochet. Okay, so now in the last chain, I'm gonna do 2 double crochets, 2 half double crochets, and then another 2 double crochets all into this last chain. So I start with 1 double crochet, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through last 2. I'm going to do that again into the same chain. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through last 2. Okay, now I'm going to make 2 half double crochets into the same chain still. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. Another half double crochet into the same chain, and then 2 double crochets, same, and I'm still in the same chain. Okay. So now, as you see, we have kind of turned automatically to go down the other side. So now I'm going to work down the opposite side of the chain. So just opposite the other row of stitches that we did. So I'm going to make 2 double crochets, and then the first one I'm going to work just in the same spot as the other side and make a double crochet. Also, I'm crocheting over my tail so that I don't have to weave it in. Yarn over, I'm going to do another double crochet into the next stitch. Now I'm going to make 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. And then I'm going to make 1 single crochet into the next stitch. Oops. I'm going to just take this tail out so that it's not getting tangled. And then I'm going to make 1 slip stitch into the last chain. So there's the leaf, and then to finish it off, I'm going to just make 1 slip stitch into the first stitch that we made, which is the first slip stitch. So I'm just insert and make 1 more slip stitch so that the tip is pointy. And then I just fasten off, yarn over, pull through, and then leave probably an 8-inch tail for weaving in and attaching to the apple. So go ahead and make another leaf, and then I will show you how to attach them. Now that I have both of my leaves, I'm going to weave the tail to the base of the leaf. So I'm going to take my tapestry needle and weave it down. So I just go through on the back of the leaf, go through some loops, some stitches like this until I get to the bottom, like that. And I just pull. I don't want to pull too tight because it'll warp it. I just want the tail at the bottom. So now I'm gonna attach this leaf to the bottom of, or at the base of this one, so that we have like a little cute little thing, a little fang. So I'm just gonna sew them together. Just sewing them together like this, not being very precise, just getting the job done. Because we're also going to attach it to the apple, so we can attach it more if we want to. I'm not going through the front of the leaf. See how I've inserted my needle through the leaf, but you can't see the needle on the front? I've gone just through the stitches of that front leaf so that it's cuter. Even though I haven't woven this tail in, I'm going to attach it to my apple now and then weave this one in. So I've got my apple and I just position the leaves in that little dimple. And then, so I just saw where I want it to go, and I'm placing my first stitch there. And then once the leaves kind of curl in, I reassess. And I just go through the leaf and then, you know, go through the leaf and bring it back into the apple wherever it wants to go. Pull it up at a different spot. This part is just not very precise. When we attach the legs and stuff, it becomes more precise. But because this is just like a free-form shape on the top of the apple, then it's just not, it doesn't line up perfectly. So now what I'm doing is I'm going through the stitches of the front leaf like this, because I don't want the stitches to be visible from the front. And then going back into the apple like this and pulling it up at a different point until I feel like both leaves are secure and they're where I want them to go. I feel like it's pretty secure and I'm happy with the shape. So I'm gonna go ahead and weave in this yarn tail. You could either weave it in on your leaves on the back or on the body, but you might see some green through your apple. I'm cool with that. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do through one round. So you can barely see that. If I were to go through multiple rounds, you probably would see it more, but it doesn't need to be extra, extra secure for me. And cut the tail. And then I'm just gonna weave in the tail for this one. So I just weaved through the leaf and then I'm gonna go through the apple and cut it. I'm gonna use my pliers again because my fingers are starting to hurt. And then just hold the leaf and pull it through. Like so. I'm gonna cut it. Give it a little massage so that the tail goes back in. And there we go. So you can leave your apple like this. Like this is such a cute little, I honestly, every time I see the butt, it makes me laugh. Like I can't help it. But I wanted to show you how to add arms and legs to your apple to make it more human-like even. So now I'll show you how to crochet the arms and legs and how to attach them. We are going to start with a magic ring. Yarn, loop around, cross, under, over, pull up a loop, reposition, hold the yarn, chain, and now we're ready to start round 1, which is 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Insert, oops, okay, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. 5 more, 1, oops, oh gosh, 1, 2, 3, that's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Tighten. Okay, now for rounds 2 through 11, we're just gonna single crochet around. And for the arm, it gets a little tricky because it's such a small tube. You can do it. It's not the most comfortable thing, but it can be done. So you can just make your first single crochet. For the arms and legs, I don't use a stitch marker because it just makes it very cluttered and much harder than it needs to be. So I just count the rounds like what I showed you before when we were working on the apple. So I'm just gonna single crochet around. It gets easier after the first few rounds because I'm kind of like molding it and like twisting the stitches upwards like this, and it's just going to be that at the bottom. So I'm going to keep single crocheting around and around until I get to 11 rounds, and I'll show you what that looks like now. So this is what the finished arm looks like. And the way that I count when I'm done, I just count from the bottom and I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rounds up. And then you just slip stitch and fasten off like you did for the body and the leaves. So there's our finished arm. Now I'm going to show you how to make the leg. It's pretty much exactly the same as the arm. You start with the magic ring. The only difference is that we do 1 increase in the second round, and the leg is 12 rounds long. So I start with a magic ring. Oops. 6 single crochets into the center. 1, 2, 6. And then I pull to tighten. And then I'm going to make an increase in the first stitch. So 2 single crochets in the first stitch. So now we have 7 stitches in our round. And then I'm going to just single crochet until I get to 12 rounds. Just like the arm. So go ahead and finish your leg and then meet me back here and I'll show you how and where to attach the arms and the legs. So I just have my tapestry needle and I'm going to thread the tail. And then I'm going to find the center of my apple and I'm going to attach the leg over round 20. So if we know that this is round 14, then 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then I want 1 stitch between the 2 legs. So I'm going to start attaching the first leg in this stitch here. And then I just go under the stitch like this. Pull it through. And then I go from inside to outside of the next stitch on whatever piece I'm attaching. And then on the body, I go back through the same hole that my thread came out of and up the next one, like that. And because we have 7 stitches around, I'm going to do 4 stitches attached in the back row and 3 in the front row. So that was 2 stitches. This will be 3. And 4. In and under the stitch to go to the row above. So now I'm going to attach 3 on the front. So in the next stitch, and go the other way. Under, and then I went through all the stitches. I'm going to go back through my first slip stitch. So I do have 4 on the front and 4 on the back because I went through my slip stitch twice. And then I just insert it back into the same hole and bring it out another part of the body. Something that I do is I leave the tails. I don't weave it in until I've attached both of the legs, so that I know that I'm happy with it before I weave in the ends. So if you can see, the legs are really towards the front, and this is because I want my apple to be able to sit down on a shelf like that. But if you want them more towards the middle, you could put wire in them so that it could stand. You could do all kinds of things, but this is what I like. To attach the other leg, I just go 1 stitch this way. So I want 1 stitch to be in the center, and then I'm going to start attaching here, I think. Let's see. Kind of place it and see if you like it there. It might be too close, so I'm going to go 1 more this way. And I start the left leg by going under round 20 and then coming up. It's just what I like to do because I like to get this position correct. And it's easier than starting from this side and coming in, I think. And I'm still going counterclockwise. So I just insert into the next stitch and then follow the same process, going under and into the next stitch from inside to outside. So I'm going to finish attaching this leg, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So I've attached the legs. It's really fun. Love it. This is where they are. This is what it looks like. The arms are attached over rounds 15 through 17. So the mouth we know is on round 14, so just the round below. So 15, 16, 17, these 3 rounds, and it's attached at an angle. So we want it to be like this. Just a slight angle. Another difference is that I'm going to attach by sewing through both sides. So if you see on this one, it makes it a little thinner. Let me move him. And it's attached through both sides of the arm tube. So I'm going to thread my tapestry needle. And then I go at the center and start there. And I start from the bottom. So 15, 16, 17, just under 17. And insert up. We're gonna attach over 2 rounds straight up, and then the 3rd round will come a little bit in like this. So I start like this. The arm, I go through 2 rounds. So I'm looking at my apple like this, and I just go through the first stitch here, go through my slip stitch that I made, and through the next stitch right next to it, like that, and bring it through. And then I do the same thing. I go through the same hole that my yarn came out of and come up above, like that. Make sure you don't get your yarn twisted. Pull tight. So it's sewing the end closed while attaching it. So again, from the top, go through the next 2 stitches, like that. Pull tight. And then I'm going to go to the left one. So this is where I do my angle. Pull tight. And then I sew my final 2 stitches, looking at it from the top. And pull tight. And then I insert it back into the same hole, bring it out a different part of the body. And then again, I will wait until I attach my other arm before weaving in the ends, just to make sure it's in the spot that I like. I want my arm tip to reach the center, so that looks about perfect. So I'll go ahead and attach the other one. And I do the same thing. Center, start from the bottom, 2 up, and then 1 to the side. And here is our finished apple. How cute! Don't forget that booty. I hope you loved this pattern. If you share pictures on Instagram, please tag me at TinyCurl. I have a lot of other free patterns on my blog, and subscribe to my channel to never miss another pattern. Thanks for watching.